Very good morning. Honorable Justice J.S. Verma, Honorable Shri Mohan Ranade, and our respected speakers and participants of the seminar, ladies and gentlemen. We are very happy to welcome you to this workshop on Human Rights Goa Audit organized by the International Center Goa. This workshop is part of the programs of series on good governance that International Center has initiated.
Very good morning to all of you. It gives me great pleasure and it's a great honor for us to have amongst us the Honorable Justice J.S. Verma, who has taken off time from his very, very busy schedule in Delhi, and he's here with us for just one day today. I don't have to tell all of you his credentials, but his last few he was the chairperson of the Human Rights Commission of India, and he was the Chief Justice of India, Supreme Court. I don't have the dates here, but in 19. That doesn't matter. Okay. Today in the morning we'll be having the session on human rights violation, a Goa audit, and in the evening he will be delivering a lecture on good governance and the role of judiciary. Well, friends, we all know human rights violations in India have been time and again caused by various social evils like human trafficking, child marriage, feticide, infanticide, dowry deaths, domestic violence, caste system, religious violence, honor killings, custodial deaths, sexual harassment, and molestation, and the list goes on actually. It is such an irony that India has the world's largest democracy, but Indians are denied the right to freedom. The recent Bali incident was a perfect example of a grave human rights violation. The people of Goa have been demanding setting up of the Goa State Human Rights Commission for a long time now. I believe it's on its way now. I believe it's being set up now. And the Human Rights Law Network is also present in the state, which offers awareness campaigns, legal mediation, counseling, and litigation. There are helplines too for child abuse, domestic violence, etc. We also have NGOs who work on human rights. There has been some progress in curbing the illegalities, but then human rights violation is still continuing in this once very peaceful state. Illegal mining, land grabbing, drug abuse, child abuse, homicides, locals deprived of jobs and business opportunities due to large-scale migration and much more. Well, why is there such a delay in punishing the offenders? These are some of the questions we'll be looking at in the morning today. It is such a shame that people who stand up for human rights are being subjected to threats, harassment, false criminal cases, and in some cases torture, ill treatment, and a whole lot. Well, human rights activists, RTI activists often pay a high price for their courage and commitment. Women who campaign for human rights also face discrimination from their own families, the community, the criminal justice system, and from the authorities. Well, it's never too late to put our act together and bring to action the suggestions and recommendations that are formed at the end of the seminar and discussions on human rights issues. And we hope that some good suggestions will come out from this morning's discussion. I would request each speaker to please stick to 10 minutes because we have a whole list of speakers who will be talking. So kindly just stick to your timing so that at the end of that we can have a question answer session, and then we can also have Justice Verma delivering a talk, which all of us are looking forward to hearing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. We are very honored to have you over here, sir. We are also honored to have Shri Mohan Ranade amongst us today. I would now like to request Advocate Satish Sonak to introduce Shri Mohan Ranade before we invite him to speak.
Suprabhat. हम सब साथ मिलकर मोहन रानडे जी को एक सवाल पूछेंगे। ख्वाब हो तुम या कोई हकीकत, कौन हो तुम बतलाओ। इतिहास बताता है कि रानडे जी ने छेड़ी स्वतंत्रता संग्राम का जवाब पुर्तगाली सियासत ने उनको 26 साल की सजा फरमा कर दिया, 26 इयर्स रिगरस इम्प्रिजनमेंट। 25 जनवरी 1969 तक ये शख्स ने पुर्तगाल के कैद खाने में मौत की आहट सुनते सुनते जिंदगी के पल गिने। 19 दिसंबर 1961 में जब हम स्वतंत्रता दिन मना रहे थे, तब रानडे जी के हाथ सलाखों में बंधे हुए थे। 6 साल प्रिजन सेल की सॉलिटरी कन्फाइनमेंट में बीते। ये कोई दास्तां नहीं, ये ह्यूमन राइट वायलेशन का सच है। क्या इतनी बेरहमी सहकर भी आदमी जी सकता है? रानडे जी जब छूट कर आए तो भगत सिंह की माता को प्रणाम करने के लिए वो फिरोजपुर भगत सिंह के माता जी के घर गए। रानडे जी ने अपनी ऑटोबायोग्राफी में लिखा है, उनकी जो सती के वाणी ऑटोबायोग्राफी है, उस भगत क्रांतिकारी भगत सिंह की मां और उनकी जो मुलाकात हुई उसके बारे में उन्होंने लिखा है, काही दिवसांपूर्वी फिरोजपूरला जिचं दर्शन होण्याचं योग आला व देशासाठी अत्युच्च त्याग माझ्याही हातून होऊन माझ्याही आईची ओळख एका हुतात्म्याची आई अशी माझ्या देशबांधवांना होऊ शकली असती तर मी किती भाग्यवान होऊ शकलो असतो. What can I introduce to this man? Here is a man who says to Bhagat Singh's mother, I wish my mother could be introduced like you, that you were the mother of an martyr. मोहन रानडेंनी आपलं जीवन भारत मातेला आणि आपली आत्मचरित्र सतीचं वाण हे भगत सिंगांच्या आईला अर्पण केलं. सतीचे वाण या आत्मचरित्राचे स्ट्रगल अनफिनिश्ड या नावान इंग्लिशीन अणकार झाला, ट्रांसलेशन झाला. आप अगर पढ़ेंगे इस जीवनी को तो आपको दुनिया के हर गमशुदा मगर संघर्षशील आदमी की एक ऐसी आवाज सुनाई देगी जो कैद खानों के सलाखों से भी छन जाती है और फांसी के फंदों से भी गूंज उठती है. आज क्रांति दिन का अवसर है और हम देखते हैं कि ये कोई ख्वाब नहीं, ये सच्चाई है. क्रांति दिन के अवसर पर यह उचित रहेगा कि हम कुछ याद करेंगे. आज ही सुबह मैं जब न्यूज़पेपर्स पढ़ रहा था, मैंने कई पेपरों में हेडलाइंस पढ़ी कि गोवा में एक जो माइन है, कुछ मिट्टी का चिखल जैसा माइंस का गिर पड़ा. एक पेपर लिखती है 70 लोग बेपता हुए हैं. दूसरी पेपर लिखती है 17 लोगों की मौत हुई है. तीसरा पेपर लिखता है 3 लोगों की डेड बॉडीज मिली है. गोवा में होता आ रहा है. कुछ महीनों पहले भी ऐसी ही एक वारदात घड़ी थी जब एक पुअर फादर हैड एक्सपायर्ड अंडर द हीप इन वेरी कैपिटल सिटी ऑफ पंजिम. A poor child was crying. There was nobody for her. After a lot of pressures, police have registered the offense. Nothing has come out of it. Now, this is the kind of human right violations that we are facing. That was out of extra buildings, sir. Now, this is out of the mining tragedies. It is a frequent. We are facing accident deaths out of mining. We are facing landslides out of mining. Our people are dying. I do not know why do we call it a life. Over there, that is one incident. Like the rest of the share of the country, आज क्रांति दिन का अवसर है. मोहन रानडे जी हमेशा कहते हैं, मैं जो हिंदी में बात कर रहा हूँ या मराठी में बात कर रहा हूँ या कोंकणी में बात कर रहा हूँ, इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि मैं अंग्रेजी के खिलाफ हूँ. आप कौन सी भाषा में बोलते हैं इससे ज्यादा महत्वपूर्ण है आप क्या बोलते हैं उस भाषा में. मोहन रानडे जी ने कहा था, मोहन रानडे जी हमेशा एक गर्जा जय जयकार क्रांतीचा ये कविता दोहराते हैं और उसमें से वो बोलते हैं, पदोपदी पसरून निखारे आपुल्याचा हाती बेहोश होऊन या धावलो ध्येय पथावरती. Which means that at every step we have taken the charcoals, the embers of fires, we have kept them before our every state and we have walked carelessly, we have walked over it without any fear. मोहन रानडे जी का ये ख्वाब है कि हम सब जो भारतीय है वो ऐसे ही दौड़े, स्वतंत्रता की ओर दौड़े, ह्यूमन राइट्स की ओर दौड़े और लोग दौड़ते हैं. हमें याद करना चाहिए कि हमारे भारत में भी एक गंगा पुत्र था जो स्वामी निगमानंद था, जिसने सच्चा हंगर स्ट्राइक करके देश के लिए जान दी। हम सब गंगा जल लेंगे, लेकिन ये अब जब हमारी मौत आएगी सब लोग गंगा जल लेंगे, लेकिन हमारे गंगा जल को पवित्र रखने के लिए एक स्वामी निगमानंद ने सचमुच कितने दानों तक हंगर स्ट्राइक करके ये की। मैं क्या पहचान करूं हमारे गेस्ट लोगों की। ये दोनों सोशल जस्टिस के रोल मॉडल है। उनकी सच पहचान तो ये होगी कि ये जो स्वामी निगमानंद गंगा पुत्र है और ये जो हमारे गोवा में जो अभी तक शायद 3 बॉडीज मिली है, हम 1 मिनट खड़ा रह के उनको श्रद्धांजलि अर्पण करेंगे। ये ह्यूमन राइट्स की सच्ची पहचान है। धन्यवाद।
May I request now Father Maverick Fernandez, Executive Secretary cum Treasurer, Council for Social Justice and Peace, to present.
Good morning, friends. Justice Verma, Mr. Mohan Ranade. I thank the organizers for allowing me to present my views on this topic today. The topic is of interest as the issue is relevant in the present context of the march towards transparency across the country. In this regard, as an introduction, I would like to place this, that in moral science we studied in school, and in moral theology we study this, that one should not step on the rights of the other even when he or she claims her or his rights. In other words, the claim to human rights on one person ends when the claim of another begins. So with this in mind, I would like to share why this topic about human rights and the church. What is the fundamental crux of the church taking up issues about human rights? In this context, I would like to place this very categorically, that how the church understands human rights. Our sacred scriptures proclaim that the human person is created in the image and likeness of God. And being in the image of God, the human individual possesses a certain dignity. He is capable of self-knowledge, self-possession, and of freely giving himself and entering into a communion with other persons. So this is basically the crux of why the church gets involved or addresses issues of human rights. It believes that a human person is created in the image and likeness of God. The many aspects of the human person, that why very expressly, we believe that the person is one. Although he's got a material side and a spiritual side, we believe that he's one. He is open to transcendence. That means he shares in the light of the divine mind. He is unique and unrepeatable. There is certain dignity. The freedom of the human person exists. The equal dignity of all persons and the social nature of the human beings. So these are the various aspects. I'm not elaborating too much on it. I'm just stating them of the point of why we look at the human person. So the origin of social life is therefore found in the human person, and society cannot refuse to recognize its active and responsible subject. The concept of human rights has evolved. We have the liberal tradition that extols the individual and focuses on the political and civil rights. We have the social tradition in this evolution of human rights, which emphasizes the social and economic rights as crucial besides the political and civil rights. We have the third world tradition on human rights, which insists on the cultural rights. Each of these aspects explains quite a lot. I'm just stating them to come down to the point of what I want to share. The Declaration of the Human Rights also provides a vision for a new humanity. But to cut short, what I need to say is we believe that the human person, having been created in the image and likeness of God, the human person has a divine manifestation, or is a manifestation of the divine. And it is the primary principle of social justice. The respect for human person is the primary principle of social justice, which is exhibited in the fundamental protection of the fundamental rights. So why our concern? First, the value of the human rights. The roots of human rights are to be found in the dignity and belongs to each human being. Which are the human rights that the church is specifically concerned of? I'm being very brief. The right to life, an integral part of which is the right of the child to develop in the mother's womb from the moment of conception. When the government says that you have an authority to do away with a child in the mother's womb, we question this authority of the government because it is a divine right of right to life. This is our stand. The right to live in a united family and in a moral environment conducive to the growth of the child's personality. Every child needs to have a family, and therefore we take up the children's rights. We work towards this. The right to develop one's intelligence and freedom in seeking and knowing the truth, and therefore the right to education. This is a subject which is a concern of the church. That every child should be educated, and provision of the intellect has to be provided for. The right to share in the work which makes wise use of earth's material resources and to derive from that work the means to support oneself and one's dependents. And therefore, it raises issues about labor rights, about right to work, and the right freely to establish family, have children, responsible, exercise, in a certain sense, the source and synthesis of these rights. Coupled with it, we also insist on the duties inextricably connected to the topic of rights is the duties, and that's what the church also is again concerned about. When it speaks about the rights, it also insists on the duties that are coupled with it. So human rights being a manifestation of divine, they are sacred and inviolable. So these rights are inviolable, and to uphold these rights, the church would always and every time raise its issue every time the rights are being violated. Church exists for the human person. Let me quote only the opening words of a very important document of the Universal Church. This document is titled The Church in the Modern World. And the opening words raise like this: the joys and sorrows, the hopes and anxieties of the people of the world are the joys and sorrows of the people of God, of which the church is concerned. This pastoral commitment develops a twofold direction, that is the proclamation of the foundations and the denunciation of the violations. So we have a role to play in proclaiming to uphold the rights and denouncing the violations of these rights. Our interventions have been misunderstood when we have, as a church, officially making statements on the violation of the rights have often been misunderstood, have been questioned as why the church needs to get involved in such issues. We would like to raise this back to share with you when one of the superintendent of police invited me to address his staff, his senior staff. I only asked him if I'm speaking anything against the constitution, then you can question the church about it. Because all that I've said now, it doesn't go against the constitution. And if I'm speaking in favor of the constitution, the rights that I enshrine in that, why should anybody question the role of the church in raising the violations of these human rights? I'm bringing this up precisely because it's not just the government, even the civil society raises these issues about why the church, in this audit that we are speaking about, I would like to categorically state, we have always upheld the rights because we find this as a basic constituent of our being a church, that we have to uphold the rights of people, proclaim those rights and denounce the violations of it. As we take up the promotion and protection of human rights, we know that the dignity of the human person is what motivates our desire to commit ourselves to work for the gradual realization of all human rights. Just to cite a few examples of why we got involved in certain issues, the community mobilization issues. when the Mother River issue emerged, we took a front role along with other organizations. When the River Sal issue emerged, we took a front role along with other organizations. Our interventions, as when we demanded a realignment of the Konkan Railway, it was questioned. Today we find the effects. Today's newspaper gives us the results of it, of what the church had raised those issues at one time. It was precisely because a deep study to see that these rights of people are upheld. When we got ourselves involved with the meta strips on the land acquisition issues, the disability rights, along with the other organizations here, we work with the prisoners in all the prisons. We have got a very systematic program with the prisons in the state here. And every prison we have a very systematic work where we do with, we believe that the prisoners' rights also are human rights. And therefore we have a systematic program, a very committed band of volunteers of all religions helping us in this work in the prisons to see that these prisoners are not kept aside, but also their rights as human rights are upheld. As far as this land issues comes, when we spoke about the food park, the proposed industries, the regional plan, the special economic zones, again and again this question keeps coming to being haunted against us. Why the church needs to get involved. I would like to use this platform today to answer this question, that we will continue to do this because we believe that the human person is a divine manifestation of God and the church exists as a servant of this God. And we will continue this work. We will continue this. We will not stop because of the questions that are raised against us, but we will continue with all the force that is required. The moral force. When the coastal regulatory zones and the coastal management zones were raised, we raised up this issue because our fishermen, our people in the coastal areas were being displaced in order to accommodate people who were wanting to set up huge hotels with these designs, the underlying designs that were there. When we raised up this issue about rural housing, the housing that are being promoted in the coastal areas through this body which we formed called GGRM, Gaon Gaon Rakon Monch. Again this issue keeps coming. I'm raising this again and again because this is what people have not understood, why the church is getting involved. We are fighting for the rights of the human persons. There were accusations, I'm raising this up because even the civil society has raised this up at several times, that we are concerned about our dwindling numbers. Anybody I would like to challenge here, that any issue at any time, at any time that we have raised has never been because of the numbers, but because of the person. When the farmers' rights were raised, farmers' issues were raised, we had formed a body called Koincha Shetkarenso Ek Vote. Then the water pollution in several villages. So I'm repeating these various things, I've kept it very short, that the rights of the people, the human rights, because it's a divine manifestation that the human person is, that's the reason we take up these rights. We have at all times engaged ourselves with civil society bodies which are like-minded, various bodies. I won't name them here. Some of them are here still. Our special concern is about the ecological destruction that is going on today. We believe in an intergenerational justice that towards the environment that is there. And particularly this year, the church has declared as a special year to be concerned about the environment. Today's papers you will find this information. That we are concerned about our effort. And we are going to do a very serious program this year, where we want to contribute and say that the church's contribution to the state in a very systematic manner of how we want to bring this forward, the intergenerational justice to be adopted. This thought always bothers me, that we are called to protect the environment. For whom? We say it's for the next generation. But I always like to borrow it from an African understanding of how we understand this intergenerational justice. They have a very beautiful concept. They understand it. It's not like something which we have got to keep it for the others, but they understand it by saying that we have borrowed it from the others. We have borrowed it from the generation ahead. And so when we give it back, if we have borrowed it on loan, We have to give it with interest. This is the concept that they understand. So this is, in this manner, we would like to work towards this ecological preservation and promotion of the environment. Let me conclude in the words of Blessed John Paul II, the Pope who passed away a few years back. While he addressed through his encyclical to the church in Asia, that's a encyclical letter he wrote to the people in Asia, he remarked that the human person is rather and must always remain its subject. So the human person must remain its subject, foundation, and goal of all development. The moment the human person is not the subject, the foundation and goal of all development, that means someone is exploiting the human person. The rights are being violated. It expresses the essence of the concern of the church to be concerned of the violation of the rights of the human person. Thank you.
May I request now Advocate B.S. Gaunkar, High Court Advocate and former MLA, to talk on human rights and tribals.
Justice retired J.S. Verma, Sri Mohan Rande, dignitaries on the dais, and my dear friends. Knowledge is the only treasure that you get sharing from each other. Today I am presenting before you the things about human rights and the tribals. Human rights have been defined as means the rights of a person relating to life of liberty and equality and dignity of the individual guarantee by the Constitution and embodied in the international covenants and enforceable. The human rights are charters published by United States Organization, and India is a party to the International Convention on Civil and Political Rights and the International Covenants on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights adopted by the General Assembly of the United Nations Organization on the 16th of December 1966. The human rights embodied in the aforesaid covenants stands substantially by the Constitution of our country. Gandhiji, the father of nation on the eve of independence, had stated that independence did not mean mere freedom from British rule by breaking the bonds of slavery, but it meant more than that. It means justice to all citizens of India, irrespective of religion, caste, creed, or language, each getting his legitimate dues. There has been growing concern in the country and abroad about issues relating to human rights as increasing of trend in the nature of crime, violence. Government has taken serious views about viewing of existing laws. The Human Rights Commission and Court came to existence for better protection of human rights. Article 14, right to equality. Article 15, regarding non-discrimination against any citizen as regards race, caste, sex, place, and Article 15.4, nothing in this article or clause 2 of Article 29 shall prevent the state from making any provision for the advancement of the socially, economically backward class and SC and STs. Now, the need of protecting human rights arises when there is a breach as regards human rights, and the tribals, the question arises whether human rights requires protection or not, and reply to this question is undoubtedly affirmative. The present trend of increasing violence, law and order problems, increasing trend of atrocities and other crimes need to be looked very seriously, and the situation has arisen that without protection of human rights, the situation will be out of hand. The increasing graph of atrocities on tribals, particularly in Goa and India in general, is deliberately overlooked and intentionally suppressed. Insults are kept deeply buried. Giving political reservation to the tribals is unitedly denied. Tribals' land is being forcibly acquired by the blessings of the popular government. Giving forest rights to the tribals are knowingly ignored. Posts in various government departments are carefully de-reserved, either one or the other pretext. Nominations of tribals represented on various corporations, commissions, and government-funded bodies are intentionally delayed. Tribal Welfare Council, which is the main body to be constituted, in order to look the welfare of the tribal is not yet constituted. Destruction of tribal hamlets due to mining activities is going on with the full blessings of the popular government in Goa. In all such cases, there is a breach of human rights, and therefore, Human Rights Commission can definitely play a vital role to redress the Himalayan hardships, difficulties, atrocities on the tribals. The popular government is acting in a most irresponsible manner, and there is no accountability yet is shown. The intention of the legislature to legislate this important piece of legislation at the relevant time cannot be ignored. This legislation can play a very important role in various fields of human life. As regards tribals in Goa, all the successive government in powers have proved that they are only giving tall promises but no deliveries. The time has come and the tribals realized that all the successive government managed to fool some of the tribal leaders for some time and managed to capture their voting banks. But certainly tribals have now realized that people in power can fool some of the people for some time, but not all the people for all the time. The tribals are forced to come on the roads to demand their legitimate rights guaranteed by the Constitution of India. And tribals are also now realized that all that sparkles is not diamond, and all that glitters is not gold. Similarly, all that shines is not sunlight. This is the situation of tribals. Thoughts are too deep to be expressed and too strong to be suppressed. The health of democracy and people in general depend upon quality of representatives to elect. That today we find many of the elected representatives are dodging of integrity, doubtful credential, and lost characters. Sorry to say this. Uneducated, half-educated, school dropouts, uncultured, unfaithful people are running the government only for amazing wealth for their personal gain. In the bargain, welfare of the state in particular and tribal in general are conveniently forgotten. The people in power are thinking that they are eating grains and others are eating grass. They have further forgotten to know that the lamp may be theirs, but the light is not theirs. But ultimately, one should know that at the end of tunnel, there is a light. Due to this attitude of people in power, traditions of excellence, traditions of dignity, traditions of respect, tradition of quality, and tradition of faith have yet to see the light. Ultimately, the nation suffers. The tribals today not only suffers due to deep sense of poverty, but also deep sense of insecurity and life insecurity, which is evident from the recent Bali incident with the brutal killing of 2 young tribals. The community has lost a feather in the cap and a jewel in the crown. Goa is only state in India where there is no political reservation for tribals, where there is no nomination for tribals on various corporations. Posts are earmarked and earmarked are de-reserved. Tribal Welfare Council is not formed. 12% budget is not provided, and the government has only abducted the tribals but totally disrobed. Therefore, protection of human rights is the only way of hope to the tribes. The tribals, as you know, when a person is sick, मनुष्यानं दुयेंत पडटा, त्या दुयेंत मनशाक वखद दिवचें पडटा. आनी योग्य वेळार जर वखद दिलें ना, तो मनीस चड दुयेंत जाता आनी फुडें मरून वयता. पांयान जर लंगडो जालो जाल्यार खंयच्यान ताका काटी दिवचें पडटा, त्या काटीच्या आदारान तो फुडें चलोंक शकता. आनी औषध आनी काटी दिवपाचें काम सरकाराचें आसा. आनी जे सरकार हें औषध आनी काटी दिवपाचें काम ट्रायबलांक करिना, तें सरकार आमी पॉप्युलर म्हणूंक शकना. आज ह्या ट्रायबल लोकांक प्रत्येकाच्या जिवनाक अमास आनी पौर्णिमा येता. अमास येयल्या परत पौर्णिमा येता, पूण हेच्या आयुश्यान आज पर्यंत अमास काळोख आसा. पौर्णिमेचो उजवाड तेणी आजून पळोवंक ना. आनी लोकांक आज ह्या ट्रायबलांक खरें म्हणचें जाल्यार सरकारान बुद्दीन चलोवपाक शिकोवपाचें. मनीस 2 तरेनी चलता. एक पांयांनी चलता, जो मनीस पांयांनी आनी जो मनीस बुद्दीन चलता तो ध्येय गाठता. हें ध्येय गाठपाचें शिक्षण जें आशिल्लें तें शिक्षण आज पर्यंत ह्या सरकारान ट्रायबल लोकांक दिवना. आनी म्हणून ट्रायबलांचो उद्धार जावपाचीं सपनां जीं आसा तीं अपूर्ण आसात. आजच्या दिसाक ह्युमन रायट्स आनी ट्रायबल ह्या विशयाचेर उलयता आसतना मोठ्या खेदान म्हाका सांगचें पडटा की गोंय स्वतंत्र जालें, गोंयच्या स्वातंत्र्याचीं फळां खरें म्हणचें जाल्यार आज पर्यंत ह्या लोकां मदीं पावूंक ना. आज पर्यंत ह्या लोकांक ह्या आजपर्यंत ह्या लोकांक त्यांच्या घरांनी गेल्यानंतर त्यांचे राहणीमान पळयल्यानंतर त्यांची रांदची कुडी पळयल्यानंतर अशें दिसता की शेणाच्या जमनीनी आजपर्यंत लोक रावतात आणि हें चित्र बदलपाचें काम सरकार करिना आणि म्हणून ह्युमन रायट्स जे आसा त्याच्यान व्हडल्यान व्हडलें म्हाका दिसता काम आसा अशा क्षणान ह्या संस्थेन इंटरव्हीन जावपाचें. आजच्या कॉन्फरन्साक हांव बाब सतीश सोनक म्हजे मित्र आणि प्रकाश कामत हांकां दोगांकय सांगता. पयर निलेश गांवकारान हांगा सांगलें की एका प्रकरणाक तो फुडें सरलो ताका भर मारलो, आयुश्यांत ताका निकामी करून दवरलो. एका शाळेन वयतलो जाल्यार 8 किलोमीटर वयतालो. हांव जेन्ना शिकतालो तेन्ना ग्रॅज्युएट लेवला पासून शिकता आसतना 10 किलोमीटर चलून वयतालो. 12वी जालें तरी म्हाज्या घरान लायट नाशिल्ली. आनी हें चित्र आज जेन्ना तुमी निलेश आमच्या मंगेश गांवकाराच्या घराक गेले नंतर पळयत किंवा दुसरो आमचो जो दिलीप आसा तेजे घराक गेले जाल्यार हें चित्र आसा. 50 वर्सां स्वतंत्र जाली आमकां. आमी स्वतंत्राची फळां आमकां मेळपाची ती आजून मेळना. हें कित्याक मेळना जाल्यार सरकाराचें काम जें आसता तें सरकार योग्य रितीन करिना. आणि म्हणून आजच्या कार्यक्रमाक मुद्दाम सांगूंक सोदता जस्टीस रिटायर्ड J.S. वर्मा हांव म्हाजें भाग्य समजता सर की आमी खूब फावटी कोर्टान तुमचें नांव घेतात. हांवें सुरवातीकच म्हणलें त्या प्रमाणे नॉलेज इज द ट्रेजर यू गेट ओनली आफ्टर शेअरिंग. म्हाका एक बरें दिसलें की तुमी आमचे मदीं आसात. तुमचें भाशण आनी तुमचे विचार आयकुपाक आमी सगळे आपुलकेन हांगा रावतात. हांव ही संदी दिल्या बद्दल ह्युमन रायट्स अँड ट्रायबल ह्या विशयाचेर पूर्णविरांता देव बरें करूं म्हणटा. See in the life of the person as it is, as there is a day and night. Similarly, 15 days in a month. For first 15, that's called Purnima. The other 15 is called Amasha. That these people have never seen the second part of the month, the rest of 15 days of the month. They have only seen Amasha, only darkness in the life, only darkness in the life. And the second thing is that, see, when a person is sick, somebody should provide him the medicine. Now the tribals are sick. Let me come to the point. The tribals are sick. They are sick in respect to advancement. They are sick in respect to their advancement. Their advancement has not taken place. Now when their advancement has not taken place, now government should see that their advancement should take place by providing their different facilities, by different infrastructure and different types of whatever the necessities are there. These infrastructures and